And we're back, guys. Tennis in a Minute. I'm your host, Good Energy. I give you the rundown on tennis coverage every day. We're going to talk about Coco's forehand in this video, and brace yourself. Grab some tea. Pull up a chair. This is going to be a long video. We are going to take a deep dive into Coco's forehand because, listen, I think the criticism, it's a bit ridiculous. And we need to really talk about this. Rainy day tennis. Play has been suspended at the Miami Open. The weather is horrible. So let's talk about Coco. Why not? The future of tennis. In my opinion, look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It's my opinion. Now, we all know this is a huge Coco channel. A lot of the subscribers are here for Coco. But again, we show love to all of the players on tour. I cover matches on the ITF. I cover matches that no one even cares about but me, because I feel all of the players deserve their flowers. And our goal here is to really show love to all the players, but we have to criticize the match statistics, and that's for the game. But nonetheless, it's all love to all the players. So let's take a look at Coco. All right, Coco just turned 20. Happy birthday again, late happy birthday again to Coco. And she's not a teenager anymore, but she's had a very successful career. She owns a lot of records, guys. That's right. Most wins as a teenager in Master 1000 events. That shows how fast and consistent she's been her brief amount of time on tour. But she gets a lot of criticism due to her forehand. And look, we know how it is. You have to criticize people. They can't be perfect at everything. So I feel because she's been so good so fast, people criticize parts of her game that kind of don't make sense to me. So let's take a look at the forehand. The reason why we're going to talk about this is because Brad Gilbert said, in case you guys don't know how Brad Gilbert became her coach, so she was working with Rebus, who I feel is a great coach, by the way. And what happened was, the story goes that after the Wimbledon loss to, I want to say, Sofia Kenin, right? Which, by the way, Sofia Kenin, what is going on? She's got to get it together. Another loss, Katie Volynets, a match she should have won. But I told you guys to take Katie because, look, the writing's on the wall. Kenin hasn't played. Her form doesn't look good. And I said last year, Sofia Big Game Kenin is an amazing talent, one of my favorite players. But she shouldn't be playing in October when she's had an injury-riddled season where she needs to rest and recover and start the new year off 100% healthy. Players are leaving to Australia very early to get a jump on the season. She should not be playing in October when she's a top 40 player. Where are you going to pick up 125 points at a challenger tournament? Sit down and rest, Sophia, because now you started this season and you're injured, and we need to see you back inside the top 10. You're too good. But this video is about Coco. So after that loss at Wimbledon, he was kind of hanging around, in the training area, backstage, whatever you want to call it. And he was giving advice on, just some pointers on why Coco lost, what she could have done better to, win the match. And Coco's father, he was around, and her manager is actually, have good connections with Brad Gilbert. So Coco put the word in and said, look, I think, is it Mary Jo? I forget, but nonetheless, they're all, they're all connected, essentially, just put it that way. And for the most part, Coco's dad put in the word for Brad Gilbert to, look, we would love your feedback. And, if you want to come aboard the team, it's an open door policy. You're welcome because we respect you. You're a great coach. You had a good career. We would love you to come on board. So Brad was like, yeah, I think that would be great, because Brad, again, the feedback he gave to Coco's people, they thought it was great, and they brought him on board. And Brad said he has never received so many text messages at all. So he said when he signed up to be Coco's coach, he said he never received so many text messages. And the text messages were about fixing Coco's forehand. So in Brad Gilbert's own words, As soon as he signed up to become Coco's coach, his phone was bombarded with text messages of people saying, fix her forehand. So I want to take a look at the forehand today. Now, Coco, look, she uses an extreme Western grip. And a lot of people, the criticism is a lot of people feel she should just switch to just a Western grip, semi-Western grip, right? For the most part, semi-Western. She uses an extreme grip. That's going to give her power and a high bounce. And I talked about Coco's high bounce, right? When she gets it right on the baseline, she can back up anyone so deep to where they're on the back foot, they can't return. And they're just going to lose the point. So a lot of critics think she should be switching to a semi-Western grip, which most players use, right? Iga uses it. And the reason why is they think that it will give her more consistency on the forehand side. Now, we recently saw Coco lose to Maria Sakkari, which, look, the writings were on the wall. That was a numeric lock. I took Sakkari to win. But the reality here is Coco's 16-4 on the season. She's made it in every tournament she's played this year. She's made it to at least the semifinals, with the exception of the early loss to Anna Kalinskaya, who she just played a better match that day, right? And it still went 3 sets. And Anna said, look, I could feel the power from her racket right up to the last point. And she was so tired and exhausted. But you can't win every match. So Coco is having a good season. She's about Emma Navarro, who is so technically sound and solid. But a lot of people think that Coco should switch to a semi-Western grip. They just feel that the grip, a lot of the pros use a semi-Western grip. And for the most part, it's going to give you great topspin. It's going to help you generate more power. And that's, in my personal opinion, that's just the game evolving. But who's to say that the extreme Western grip is not going to gain more popularity with players? Because let's go back, right? So when Venus and Serena started playing tennis, it was all about the continental grip, right? You got stars like Federer, Pete Sampras. Back in the day, it was all about the continental grip. It's more of a serve and volley grip, but that's how you start tennis. You start with the serve, right? Your serve is your fastest shot. And like Sakkari says, it's her best shot. Elena Rybakina, Alicia Parks. It's all about the serve, right? If you have a really good serve, you're going to set the tone for the match. You're going to hold serve. And look, your opponent slips up, you could win the match. But the game has evolved. It used to be all about the continental grip, right? Go back to the Althea Gibson days, right? The days when they used wooden rackets and they primarily played on grass. It was all about the continental grip. The sport of tennis has evolved. And you take a look at other sports, they evolve over time. We're in the era with the NBA where, it's the shooting era, where you have Steph Curry. He literally changed the game. He has kids now in grade school shooting 3-pointers 28 to 30 feet out, half court, for crying out loud. That's the evolution of sports. They evolve. And I just think the criticism from Coco's forehand doesn't really make sense, because when you're talking about sports, and I talked about this in the past, right? The thing with sports is when you start at an early age, your very first coach, your second coach, they kind of introduce you to the game. And if they're not technically sound, a lot of times that player, or that child rather, they'll start to do things that make them comfortable, right? So for example, let's go back to basketball, because I want to explain this very clearly. Take a look at a Hall of Famer like Sean Marion. His shooting form, a lot of people used to say it's one of the worst ever, right? So when he would shoot the ball, it's like he would take both hands together and flap them inward. But he had a very consistent shot, right? A Hall of Famer. At one point, he was a walking double-double, and he was very consistent from the three-point land. His shooting form was horrible, but it worked for him. It was comfortable for him. Take a look at one of the greatest shooters of all time, Shaquille O'Neal. Now, he struggled with his free throws for his entire career. He changed his form at least 10 to 15 different times. He's brought in all of the experts to help him with his free throws, and he always resorted back to about his average, 50%, right? Around that, give or take. a few percentages, nothing worked in terms of changing his form. And in my personal opinion, I think it just came down to him letting the critics get inside his head rent free instead of just focusing on mentally making the free throws. It wasn't really about his form. It was about him being comfortable mentally. I told you guys about the story with the basketball challenge where you had a couple teams. One shot free throws in the gym every day, 30 days for a month straight, and one only watched videos of making free throws, imagining mentally that they were making free throws. The team that didn't practice at all improved just as much as the team that did in the gym every day. So a lot of it is seeing the ball go through the net. And with the forehand criticism with Coco, I think that it's really just critics wanting to criticize her for being different than players on tour. Because if we take a look at Coco, she's winning matches, right? 7 championships as a teenager. And literally, that's like 2.5 years on tour. 7 championships, a 500, a 1,000, a and a bunch of 250s. She's even got, like 8 or 9 doubles championships. She's ranked 12th in doubles, number 3 in the world. She's been inside the top 10 forever. A WTA finalist in singles and doubles, 2 years straight as a teenager. All of these records that she's beat and accomplished. You know, the youngest American to make the Olympics in like 20 years. She's solid. And I just feel the critics, they want something to criticize. And if you want something to criticize, it's got to be the serve. I don't think it's the forehand. Now, I talked about her forehand, and for a while, and I'm going to tell you right now, the cat's out the bag. This is why Coco struggles on her forehand. And a lot of people don't realize this. I'm going to tell you, I told you this before, this is the real reason why she struggles with her forehand. I don't think it has anything to do with form. Because we've seen some of the best players in history just do things differently when it comes to form and technique because they do what makes them comfortable and gets results. Coco she's a winner. She's got results. You know, you can't tell me that if Coco changes her forehand to a semi-Western grip, that she wins 5 more Grand Slams, you know, up to this point. Let's say she changed her grip to a semi-Western grip. You can't tell me she wins 2 more Grand Slams or 5 more championships. Brad Gilbert said it himself. He said, just because someone's struggling with a particular shot or technique, changing their technique is not going to guarantee results. And this is out of Brad Gilbert's own mouth. And I agree with him. In fact, changing the technique, Brad said, could make things worse. There's no guarantee. What you want to do is help the person perform their routine as comfortable as possible so they can get results. And I agree with that. I really do. And the reason I agree with that is, for example, this is why Coco struggles with the forehand. Because she's too fast. I've said this. No one realizes how fast she is. She's too fast in returning. She's literally, her closeout and her footwork, she's the fastest player on tour. That's the consensus. Everyone finally agrees. I've been saying this for the last 3 years. Now everyone finally agrees with me. It's the consensus. All experts say it when she plays. She's the fastest player on tour. That's why she struggles with her forehand, because she's already at the spot waiting for the ball. She's literally, in my opinion, she needs to stop, gather herself, focus on her aim and where she wants to go with the ball. She is literally just running through the ball and hitting her forehand. She's so fast, I think she needs to stop, slow down, and put more effort and focus into the shot and more follow through. She's literally just running to the ball and just blasting the forehand without stopping and closing out properly. So I don't think it's the technique of the forehand and the extreme grip at all. I think it's her slowing down a bit and following through with the shot. That's my own personal opinion. And I've talked about this in the past. She's so fast, you can see it. And now I've noticed that she's starting to slow down a bit, right? Because a lot of times Coco, she's literally getting so many balls back in such a short amount of time that she's not taking her time to set up the forehand properly. And it's just about slowing down. How do you say that, Good Energy? Anyone ever play basketball? Any fast speedsters that ever play basketball? You ever get a steal and you have a wide open layup? What happens if you don't slow down running in to make that layup? You will not even hit the rim. The ball will just bounce off the backboard, and it'll be an air ball via the backboard, right? Any fast players know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to slow down and make that layup. Coco was so fast at closing out. She needs to slow down. She's got enough time. That's how fast she is. She needs to slow down and follow through with the forehand. And that's why she's hitting long. She's not netting on the forehand, but that's my own personal opinion. I just think she needs to stop, gather herself, and slow down a bit because she's so fast. And I've said this in the past, especially when talking about Marta Kostyuk. It doesn't matter how athletic you are. A good tennis player will use your athletic ability against her. And sometimes opponents can do that with Coco. I think that's what Iga does with Coco. That's why Iga's so successful with Coco. You know, I just think she uses her athletic ability against her, and she makes a lot of errors. But I don't think the forehand's an issue. I've seen her within the last 6 to 8 months use the forehand more defensively, where I think the critics are kind of getting in her head. And I'm here to tell Coco, do not let the critics get in your head. Do not listen to what they think or say. There's nothing wrong with your forehand. Now, I've seen her go defensively on the forehand. Now she's attacking more on the forehand. So I can see she's not necessarily more confident, but I think she's playing more freely with the forehand, and she has more control and more accuracy because I think she's following through more. She's stopping, she's planning more, and following through with the shot. It's all about follow through, no matter what sport you're playing. If you're a quarterback, if you're playing basketball, if it's baseball, if it's tennis, it's all about following through and guiding the shot. Coco's so fast, she's not allowing herself enough time to stop and follow through with the forehand. That's really all I think the challenge is with Coco. But nonetheless, I agree with Brad Gilbert. I don't think changing her technique will guarantee anything. We saw Shaq change his technique over 15 times. Did not guarantee anything. He had his best year shooting free throws when he didn't let the critics get in his head, right? When he was confident, when he got the results, you know, he talked positive. And it's all about positive affirmations, in my personal opinion. But look, again, I think Coco's going to be just fine with the forehand. If her forehand was that bad, she would not have accomplished all she's accomplished so far. You can't just be a great defensive player and win matches. You have to score, right? But if you take a look at her defense right now, Coco's leading the tour in break points won, break points won overall, and return games won. So she's breaking opponents consistently. I mean, last time I checked, she was breaking opponents at a 55% average. That is insane. But you have to score to win. And I say it all the time. Look, if you stop someone, you'll never lose. But teams that can score can win as well if your opponent has a bad game. And Coco scores consistently. I think the big issue is the serve. Now, last year she averaged around 4 double faults a match. She's on pace to pass that this year. So I think she cannot afford to give these elite players free points. I think the only issue right now is the double faults. She's really got to control the double faults because she's netting on the double fault. So I don't think there's enough reach or lift. And I think with the double faults, I do think that's a mental thing because I think she's not even getting the ball over the net. So, yeah, it could be mental and technique, to be honest with you, a combination of both. But the thing with the double faults is you cannot afford to give your opponents free points. She's backing herself up on the second serve too often, and opponents are stepping inside, teeing off. So I think the real issue is the serve. And I think just like Sabalenka did, she has the money, she has the resources. Bring in a mechanics coach that can fix that because that's been lingering all year. I mean, she started off in Auckland. She had an amazing tournament, and I'm like, whoa, she might win all 4 Grand Slams the way she played in Auckland. But after that, I mean, she looked good at the Australian Open. I mean, even with the match with Marta, I mean, look, she had the opportunity to close out the first set. She had the opportunity to close it out in 2. But up until Marta, she was just dominating at the Australian Open. Even with Sabalenka, she was up, 6-5, 30 love in the first set. She was up, 4? She was up 4-3 in the second set, love 30. So she had both opportunities in each set to steal the set. So she still played good against Sabalenka, even though she lost, right? And I just think that she's got to work on the double faults, that you cannot give your opponents free points. I mean, what was it? 17 double faults against Yuan, something like that. Way too many points. And she still showed you how good her defense is by winning the match. But again, I agree with Brad Gilbert. Changing someone's form is not going to guarantee anything. Let's take a look at Katerina Siniakova. She's known as having the worst serve motion on tour. At this age of her career, you can't change her serve. You just can't. Now, Iga Swiatek said when she adds something to her game, it takes about 3 days. Now, she started the new year with a new serve motion. And to be honest with you, no one's talking about this. And I really don't want to say it because I know the Polish fans are going to go crazy, right? They're going to go crazy. But Iga Swiatek's serve looks a little bit like Elena Rybakina. The only difference is Rybakina is a lot taller, so you don't notice the rock back as much. Yes, Iga copied Elena Rybakina's serve. I said it. Cat's out the bag, Polish fans. Cat's out the bag. She is copying Rybakina's serve. She is. Look at their two serves. She's copying her serve. But Rybakina's a little bit taller, so that delay and rock back doesn't really affect her more. But Iga's adjusted to it. And look, if I add a new element to my game, yeah, a few days is all it would take for me to feel comfortable using it in a game situation. But until I master it, of course, the results, they're going to be up and down. So I think she's kind of got past that stage, and that shows how much of a professional she is. She's really, that serve early on in the year was horrible. I was criticizing it. Polish fans couldn't believe it, but the numbers don't lie. Her numbers were awful with that new serve. Now she's got it under control, but I do think Coco needs to bring on a mechanics coach. Sabalenka did it. Her serve's been so much better. Once she gets her serve down, I think the forehand's okay. I think she attacks with it when she needs to. She plays defensive when she needs to. And I think she's slowing down, following through with the forehand. And I think that was the big issue all along. So, but nonetheless, what do you think, guys? Should Coco go to a semi-Western grip on the forehand right now? She uses a extreme Western grip. But again, I mean, I think that changing the grip doesn't really mean anything. I mean, because it's all about what you feel comfortable doing. I mean, take a look at players like Potapova or Collins, right? They use Western grips, right? But they use zero topspin. The purpose of the semi-Western grip is for topspin. That's the objective of it. More power, more topspin. Potapova and Collins use zero topspin, but they use a semi-Western grip because they do what they're comfortable doing. And I think that's what it's all about. So I think that trying to put labels on techniques and grips, I think those days are done. I think we're in an age where a player can have success doing what they're good at and what they feel comfortable doing. I just think society as a whole needs to stop with that. They try to put labels on people and say, hey, look, everyone does this, so you should do it. Oh, you don't do it that way? That's why you're losing. That's why you're struggling. And we all know when it comes to grading errors courtside, we all know, look, it all depends on the person with the pen and the paper and the clipboard, because a lot of those stats, it's subjective. A lot of them are off. Literally, there's someone courtside counting them. Like it's like an assist in basketball. Did you guys hear that? Did you hear that stat keeper that said he was encouraged to pad stats? Yeah, when John Stockton was playing, he was encouraged to give him more assists on plays that weren't assists. So when we're talking errors and unforced, I've seen matches where players were listed down as having 60, 70 errors in matches. I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no way. And sometimes you see these guys overinflating the winners. So, look, I just think the days of putting labels on how players should play, it's over. Look at basketball. Not everyone has the same form. Look at the elite shooters. Not all of them have the same form. I have more of a traditional form, and just to be simple, someone like Larry Bird, I have more of a traditional form. And the reason I'm using him is he's known as, look, take your left hand, guide it to the outer portion of the ball, take your right hand, put it under the ball, use like a wrist, kind of like flick your wrist through. You want to follow through motion, see the ball going through the net. It's more of a traditional type of way to hold the basketball. and I'm using Larry Bird because he was the poster boy for making that form popular. That's my traditional grip. I think it works best. I think it works best for me. I do think that if most people use that grip, they would have results if they have the proper technique down. If you can't get that technique down, then do what works best for you, because at the end, you're going to have high success doing what you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, it's not going to work. And I think that's what Coco needs to realize. Forget the critics, forget the haters. Right now, you're comfortable doing it. You've been doing it your whole career. Now it's just about mentally blocking out the noise and just fixing the things that are really hurting your game. And I don't think it's the forehand. I think it's the double faults. So comment below. What do you guys think? Long video, rain delay. Looks like we're about to go in. The rain stopping. Tennis in a minute. Coco's forehand. Does she need to go semi-Western or keep her current grip? Comment below. We'll be right back, guys. Thank you for the love and support. See you soon.